Imagine if the Galaxy S24 Ultra was a laptop. It'd probably look something like this, the Samsung Galaxy Book 4 Pro 360. That's a mouthful of a name for a pretty big beastly computer that, despite its hefty proportions, is also kinda Samsung's answer to the 15-inch MacBook Air. But unlike Apple's thin and light computer, the Galaxy Book also moonlights as a tablet and offers extra flexibility beyond that. It's got Intel's latest Core Ultra chips, a slick reversible OLED display, and naturally an S Pen stylus you can snap to the lid. It's one of the few computers I've used that actually kinda dwarfs the footprint of my 16-inch MacBook Pro, but it does that while packing a weight that's actually closer to that of a MacBook Air. I've used the Galaxy Book 4 Pro 360 for just over a month, and I think it could make a great addition to your digital life if you're the right kind of person. I'm Alex Dobie, this is XDA, let's jump in. So the form factor of this year's Book 4 Pro 360 hasn't really changed at all compared to last year's Book 3 Pro models, at least externally. It's a sleek, svelte wedge with stylish angular hinges that serve to accommodate the 360 part of its name. Like other convertibles of this kind, you can use it in tent mode or propped up with the keyboard facing down, as well as in the vanilla laptop or tablet configurations. It's light enough to be less of an encumbrance than a lot of other 16-inch laptops in a shoulder bag, including the one I'm most used to lugging around, the MacBook Pro, but with sufficient screen real estate that it doesn't feel cramped when you're using it in a largely desk-bound setup. The only thing that did feel a little cramped, perhaps because it messes with both my PC and Mac muscle memory, is this extra wide keyboard with number pad. It's not so much the size of the keys that takes some getting used to as the fact that they're offset by a few inches when you're typing most of the time. Not a huge deal though, and in fact the numpad may be a welcome addition for a lot of folks depending on who you are and how you work. On a similar note, I'm still not the biggest fan of this extra large bezel down below here, though you can kinda see why it's there given that you need an area to grip onto when you're using it in this kind of magazine orientation. Just a shame that it makes the design look a little dated when it's opened out as a laptop. There are more meaningful upgrades under the hood and inside the shell. That display gets a modest bump up to 400 nits of peak brightness or 500 when showing HDR content, but the bigger upgrade might be the move to Gorilla Glass with DX, a new coating that's meant to improve scratch resistance and cut down on reflection, making this notebook more usable in brighter conditions. That's another thing it shares in common with the S24 Ultra, whose Gorilla Armor has similar benefits. Really, this is just a fantastic display whether you're watching movies, doing light gaming, or browsing photos in tablet mode. Obviously it is OLED though, so you probably want to keep Windows in dark mode to make the most of your battery life. And it's a fantastic laptop audio-wise as well, of course benefiting from the large chassis with plenty of space for the 8-speaker AKG system that makes for an excellent pairing with that gorgeous display. On the inside, the mid-tier model I'm using has an Intel Core Ultra 7 155H processor, the middle-of-the-road chip in the Meteor Lake Ultra lineup, paired with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 storage. That chip is a substantial upgrade over its predecessor, with performance that's more than enough for heavy productivity multitasking and even light to moderate gaming. But we're still a ways off from the kind of cool and quiet operation that Apple's M-series silicon can provide. That's not to say it's loud or necessarily hot, but I noticed the fans sometimes kicking in during relatively innocuous things like browsing with a few tabs open and an additional monitor connected. Any recent MacBook Pro wouldn't do that, and nor would the MacBook Air for obvious reasons. Regardless, general day-to-day multitasking was fast, and the machine always felt responsive, in part thanks to the speedy 120Hz refresh rate of its display. Having 16 gigs of RAM means having multiple productivity apps open, even heavier apps like Photoshop and Lightroom, isn't a problem. Just about the only limit you're going to see is in video editing. Throw a few 4K or 6K clips into a Premiere Pro timeline and it'll soon start to chug, which felt more like a RAM issue to me than anything since I've used other Core Ultra machines with 32 gigs that handle heavier tasks like this more reliably. Even gaming in less intensive or older titles felt perfectly smooth most of the time and didn't decimate the battery quite as much as I'd feared, thanks to the integrated Intel Arc graphics. This definitely is not a high-end gaming laptop though, so anything more demanding or more recent you'll probably need to be playing at lower settings or resolutions. Day-to-day battery life has also been decent, if unremarkable, able to see me through a full working day of around 9 hours, with reasonably quick refills via the 65-watt USB-C charger in the box. And like some other PC makers, Samsung also has a helpful battery protection feature that can cap charging at 80%. Unlike macOS though, this doesn't activate automatically, so you need to remember to manually toggle it if needed, for example if you're going to be plugged in for a long period of time. Work-wise, a decent loadout of ports is a big plus, and the Book 4 Pro 360 provides full-sized HDMI 2.1, 2 Thunderbolt 4, 1 USB-A 3.2, 3.5mm headphone, and microSD. I would have much preferred full-sized SD because that's what I use in my camera, but hey, finding USB-A in a 2024 notebook was at least a pleasant surprise. During most of my time with this laptop, I used it in the boring mainstream desk or lap-based configuration, but I have also appreciated having other modes of operation available that I wouldn't necessarily have at my disposal with a MacBook or other Windows notebooks. Tablet mode, honestly, is kinda unwieldy for a device of this size, but tent mode is great if you're watching a movie in bed or as an alternative to a hotel room TV. And the reverse propped up mode I found to be a comfortable way to use this thing like a tablet on my lap in the evening. So this is a Galaxy Book after all, and a lot of what makes it worthy of this brand name has to do with unique hardware and software. The S Pen comes bundled in the box, and you can use it in much the same way you would on a Samsung smartphone or tablet. Pressing the side button brings up your Air Command menu from where you can easily take notes, crop sections of the screen, and do other artsy stylus type things. For the most part though, you'll be relying on Windows pen input capabilities to use the S Pen with third-party apps like Photoshop or Word. Is it essential? No, I don't think so, but it's a nice to have extra, and if it's going to be magnetized to the back of your screen most of the time anyway, then it's not doing any harm, and it's always within reach if and when you do decide to whip it out. There's also the ecosystem angle, and owning a Galaxy smartphone alongside your Galaxy Book is obviously the optimum experience here. The Book 4 is preloaded with a bunch of Galaxy apps, including the Galaxy Book Experience, which serves as a central hub for all the ecosystem connected things this PC can do. Most useful of all is the Multi-Control app, which lets you bring in Samsung phones and tablets and control them using your computer's keyboard and trackpad. Second Screen does exactly what you would expect by roping in a Galaxy Tab if you have one to play a secondary monitor. Other Samsung staples include SmartThings if you've already invested in that smart home platform, and the Samsung Gallery app, which impressively also includes some of the AI-based editing features you'll find on the latest Galaxy phones. Things like the Object Eraser, which you'll see here. And Samsung Notes is also a great pairing for that bundled S Pen. Notification and clipboard contents can also be shared between phone and PC, another useful feature that brings Samsung's experience in line with what you get out of continuity on a Mac and an iPhone. Although honestly, sometimes not seeing notifications on my computer when I'm working is often more of a feature than a bug for me personally. Now, you don't need to be 110% fully bought into the Samsung ecosystem to enjoy this machine, but at least having a Galaxy phone to pair it with is definitely going to make for an enhanced experience. So I can definitely see the appeal of the Galaxy Book 4 Pro 360. Like many other Samsung gadgets, it's all built around a big, beautiful display that is the real star of the show here. The S Pen I can honestly take or leave, because for me personally, it just doesn't fit that much into my own everyday work and play activities. The step up in performance and efficiency from the Core Ultra chips is an important upgrade, and one that brings this machine closer to the dream of a full-fat PC that can also moonlight as a svelte pen-enabled tablet gadget. At the same time, I feel like some of the Book 4 Pro 360 size actually works against it to a certain extent. This concept might work much better in a 13 or 14-inch configuration, at least for me personally, and I feel like the smaller form factor would have a wider mass appeal as well. As it stands, this laptop is going to be the best fit for someone who probably already owns, say, an S24 or S23 Ultra and is looking for that laptop equivalent of their favorite phone. Someone who wants a big screen for work and play, but the kind of work and play that's not necessarily heavy-duty content creation or intense gaming. Mainstream, but not mundane, which is a pretty good way to sum up this computer. That's it for now. Stay tuned and subscribe for more laptop and convertible coverage coming very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.